Hey, it's the Chief Bonding with Board Games and RPGs. We're coming back into yet another episode. Yes, these episodes just keep spooling out. I will fully complete Season 1. This attack on the base will be resolved. So one commenter had pointed out, please don't stop the story. Don't worry, this will conclude. It's going longer than I thought, but we'll conclude it. I'm continuing to roll around the clock. So some of you know, the few overrun. You can go see that. The attack on the farm compound. Go check that out. There's a group still spreading out, but then we move to Krieg up north. He's gone rogue and he's off the base and he's doing his evil things that he does. Now we're rolling around to Pacheco and the orphans. We'll continue to go around, hit Sanchez, and then that group, there's a group that's headed toward the center portion of the headquarters, and they're going to be hit for the first time as well. So we'll continue moving around the clock, but problems are coming into the middle of the base. But for this episode, we're with Pacheco and the orphans. The three brothers, Casimir, 16, Edik, 12, and Elik, 10. And when we last left, Casimir was basically on the job training, all right? OJT on the 50 and being taught by Pacheco, who's taken on like an uncle role. Rough uncle, but uncle. Edik and Elik are both handling M16s. They actually have almost no kick to them at all, and these kids could handle them other than maybe some of the reach, but I'm picturing an M16A2 with the collapsible stock, which works real well for adjusting. And OJT's in progress. Now, there was a group they split up that was getting fired on by Casimir to further south from their Humvee. But there was a group that came in over the wall to the north that my numbers show, I believe, was 9, if I've got it right. And my first question is, they're between Pacheco and that northern Humvee that caused a lot of damage up at the top. And they can hear firing going on. Remember, everything's kind of real time. Not kind of, everything's real time here. But the question is, Pacheco and his kids are kind of focusing to their south. And I could see if this group moved down towards the sound of their 50, they could be caught unaware. So, is that group moving south, or would they go target some of these groups to the north? Again, these groups that aren't part of this 150, the buses that showed up, if you go see LeFew's Last Stand, their idea is to harass and keep these troops from being able to shift to hotspots. So they're not necessarily running into the interior, although they might if they get the option. It's not like these are well-trained crack troops. I think just to keep things fairly even, we're still Chaos Factor 7, and we're using the Mythic Emulator Fate chart for yes/no questions. And on a Chaos Factor 7, I think it's unlikely that they'll move south. They know there's already a group that's down there. But because Chaos Factor 7, that's a 55. So 55 or less, they will move south toward the sound of Casimir's 50 firing. 79, so they do not. That tells me that, again, I don't think, well, let's see. Are they moving, if they're moving to the Humvee to the north? If this is a no, then we will assume that they're basically moving inward. 25, so yes, with the 55, same roll, they move towards that group up there. The main reason I wanted to know this, because we're not following them, but we're following Pacheco, but they were not prepared overly for someone coming up behind them, and the situation's greatly in doubt. So that was a radical thing that could have caught these orphans and Pacheco off guard. But they moved north. There's gunfire up north, and I think the question of that, because we're with Pacheco and the orphans, is now he's hearing what is clearly sounds like a militia attack to the Humvee that's north of him. He can see some muzzle flashes. It's drawn his attention. He realizes they've got contact inside the wall to their south, and he's hearing contact inside the wall to his north. With the kids, does he hold this tenuous position or not? I think that's a fate chart question, and I think I'm going to go again with the unlikely. I think this unsettles him. He does have a Humvee driver, but he's got, he's OJTing a 16-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 10-year-old, and then himself. It's not like, again, he's with some crack team. And as much as they engaged targets, I think he's starting to feel the pressure to move out, but maybe not. It's a 55. Does he kind of pull out of his location and maybe seek to link up with some other U.S. military troops somewhere? 47, so that's a yes. So he decides, and he tells he tells the kids, Alec and Edic, get in a vehicle. He tells Casimir, hey, I'm going to get on this 50. I want you to sit in the front seat. And he tells the driver, hey, I'm hearing heavy contact north of us, and you're seeing what we got south of us. I think we got to pull back. Now, they do have a radio. I believe there's going to be contact with Major McGiffin. And I think, let's go with that notion. So he radios in, hey, we've got at least two groups inside the wall. I'm hearing contact north, we're in contact south. Permission to tighten up the perimeter to come in off the wall. I want this event meeting, so it's an action subject, to kind of dictate, is he able to do that? It'll be interesting to see how we figure that out. Recruit, okay, 5. And 16, love. Recruit, love. What does that mean? All right, so this is McGiffin getting the call. I think Pacheco's really done a great sit rep, a situational report on, hey, I can't hold this area. So recruit, love. I don't think this is going to be the romantic love. We'll go with the fraternal love. With that fraternal love, I think he's going to, I know what he does. He tells them, link up with the 105. The 105's on the road back there a little bit. And I think coming in and defending that gun with the 50'd Humvee would be a good move. You even have the ability to, a Humvee, you could hook up and move the 105 if you want, whereas right now they couldn't. And so I think that's even brought up. That is what happened. So I think McGiffin is starting to realize the perimeter's not holding at this point. It's starting to collapse. Can't get a hold of a few. Sanchez is reporting that he's holding to the south but requesting more troops. Of course, as the viewer, if you've seen that episode, there's actually a large group that has bypassed his position. He thinks he's got a group in front of him. He does not. They're moving in. McGiffin doesn't know this, though. So that is what happens. Pacheco's going to move to the 105. Now, they don't have a radio, and so that's going to be a cautious move. And I think the question is, not that the 105 would sight in and just blow up the Humvee. I think the question is there any difficulty linking up with that 105? I'm going to again go with unlikely. Pacheco knows exactly where it is. And I think they would do whatever they needed to do to alert, but let's find out. 55, 47, no difficulty at all. So Pacheco knows exactly where they're at. Tells the driver, we're going to link in. I want you to come in low, low, low and slow. I want you to come in slow and smooth. Would he tell him to put on his headlights? I don't think so. How in the world would you tell them your friendly's coming in? Okay, I know. I think Pacheco says, hey, go ahead and start working your way over towards the road where we've left the 105, just so that I can both suppress anybody that's out there trying to follow us and to let the 105 know we're coming in. I'm going to let the 50 rock and roll a little bit. I'm going to conserve some ammo. It's not a ton, but they'll know if they see a vehicle coming with the sounds of the 50 and it's firing away from them, that it's friendlies that are inbound. That's what he does. There's zero problem linking up, and Pacheco is now linked up with the 105 crew. No friendly fire. That was my main concern. There going to be some kind of friendly fire. You got suicide vehicles rocketing in. So the link up is successful. I think the next debate, because I think it would be had, is do they move that 105 in? Let's do that as a simple yes and no question to McGiffin. Hey, we've linked up with the 105. We're going to go with unlikely. I think he would still want to have it hold there. I don't think he's ready to collapse all the way in yet. But I'm in a position where I can hook up the 105, bring back your crew, not all the ammo, but I can bring back some ammo, and we can bring this 105 back towards headquarters for defense. 55, unlikely. I think he's going to want them to stay there for now. And a 7, which is a hard, strong yes. So it's completely not what I thought. McGiffin's like, absolutely. Hook up the 105, tow it back, bring back the crew, and establish a position around our headquarters perimeter. First Sergeant Wilson will direct you further. So you're seeing a map of the headquarters, and McGiffin is deciding to bring that gun, its crew, and this 50 Humvee with Pacheco and the kids back to HQ. I like it. That's interesting. Not a lot of action here, but they are shrinking that perimeter down. We'll go ahead and call it right there for scene. Pacheco and the orphans are headed back in to the HQ with the 105. All right, don't forget, like and subscribe. We're going to try to keep these tight as this action starts to constrict in, except for Krieg, who's gone off the reservation. Literally. Krieg is out in the wild, but that's a future episode of Bonding with Board Games Evil Twilight 2000. Dialing into this, we're coming to Sanchez, so we're coming around that clock again. We're down south. Now, Sanchez, when we left him, thought he had a strong element of enemy forces to his front, so south of him, and it actually called Major McGiffin asking for reinforcements, but he was wrong. If you've seen that episode, he had been engaged with some fire, and then a group had moved around and was just moving into the compound. All right, checking my notes, the numbers that got around Pacheco are 8. I thought it was more than that, but I know I've got 12 that were far north that are also creeping in. So everything's starting to come in now. Sanchez wants to hold his slot. I think what we figured out on the last episode with Pacheco is that Major McGiffin's starting to actually not send folks out. He wants to contract in around the HQ, his location. Maybe self-serving, maybe. So I think we'll start off with the order to Sanchez, where he would be calling him and his Humvee to circle back. I think we're at the point, I know we're at the point where LeFew, all contacts lost. the farm compound. No contact with the compound, although a large volume of fire coming from over there, clearly heard. Whether they had radio contact or not, it could be heard. Krieg has gone outside the wire. McGiffin was nervous, and he's going to order Sanchez to bring his Humvee back. Matter of fact, I think he's calling in, we're going to say it right now, he's calling everybody that's on that perimeter back. Does Sanchez follow this? Actually, if he's calling everybody back, I think he would. It would be extremely, I think it's a sure thing that he would, actually. Yeah. I mean, if everybody's being called back in, and that's what we're going to say, it would be rare that he wouldn't. But maybe, or you need a 95 or less. Cast factor 734. Yes. All right. So as much as Sanchez thinks he's still got a front, or a force to his front down in the south and that he's held, he understands that if everybody's being called back in to defend kind of the citadel, the last areas of defense, that headquarters, then he needs to fall back as well. Otherwise, he could simply be cut off. Now, here's the interesting part. As he falls back, he's actually potentially could be ambushed by the 8 that have already slid by him. I think that would be unlikely, but that's only a 55. So could Sanchez and his Humvee be ambushed by the 8? Ooh, 69. So that's a no. So we needed a 55 or less for a yes. All right. Well, it's going to make for this being a pretty wrapped up situation in this case then. So Sanchez is moving back, not ambushed by the 8 that got around him. We know Pacheco on the east is bringing the 105 back, and we know the troops to the west, there was still a Humvee on the north, so they're bringing them back in. All right, so the fallback orders come in. Just looking at my notes on each of the sides, we know the north area was pretty much, except for the 105 that got destroyed, which had 5 troops on it, that we had 20 U.S. troops per section. So we're going to be bringing back the 15 troops from the north. The farmers are gone. We do have the one Humvee that was to the west that was far up north and had held its spot. But that's just the Humvee and the gunner. And then all of the few in the group to the south were gone. We've got only Pacheco and the 105, so his driver and the 5 crew coming back from there. So there's either continual engagements going on or the message didn't get out. So we've got, and then we've got Sanchez and almost all of his southern groups coming back. So the 20 from there. All right, with Sanchez headed back to HQ, Pacheco and the 105 and their 5-man crew coming back from the east, and north bringing all but the 105 crew that were killed, so that's 15 coming back from the north. You've got a fairly strong force that's coming back and centering around that HQ, which is good because the next place we're coming to as we come around is going to be HQ, and it's going to be getting hit. I will have, for the follow-up episode, we'll show a little bit more. We'll be zoomed in on that HQ. They had 20 folks there, some of which clerks and stuff, and their senior NCOs and some of their officers handling all the direction of the fight. But there's going to be a collapse of troops coming into that area. So when we get into that fight, I'll have those numbers nailed down. They will have Pacheco, they will have Sanchez, and of course the orphans. Krieg is off the reservation, completely not going to be part of that defense, but we'll see what he finds. He's in the midst of trying to find the staging area of the buses, which have already left the staging area, but we'll see what he finds. Maybe Bartek's there, maybe that's not the location at all. And the next episode will cover that that attack of the forces that have gotten inside the compound and are now going to be hitting the HQ. Kind of feels like we're coming toward a closer resolution here, but we'll play this season all the way out till we resolve what happens with the attack on the compound and with what Crazy Krieg is doing to the north. All right, bonding with board games and RPGs. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and tell a few friends. See you guys. Bye.